So great to be here. And I would love to share a lot of things about digital pathology with you. And we're going to be talking about digital innovation for pathology diagnosis today. So, which year of vet school are you? I just want to gauge, like, what age are you guys? So, I'm asking this because you are at a different stage of your career than I am. And obviously, you're getting those webinars from people who are the expert or developed some kind of expertise or have specialized knowledge on something. I might be maybe not quite yet twice your age, but I've been working for quite some time already and developed this expertise in digital pathology. So, is it just for the chosen, like for people who you can see publish? I have published a couple of papers, and I just want to tell you, no, we are just in a different place of our careers, and definitely not only for the chosen. So let me give you a story of how I even um, stumbled upon digital pathology. So I graduated vet school in Poland, in Wrocław. I'm originally from Poland. And I actually practiced as a practitioner my first year was in large animal practice and then in a mixed animal practice in Poland before I started my PhD and veterinary pathology residency in Germany. And when I started my pathology residency, there was this scanner in one dedicated room that also had a fluorescent microscope. And in my mind, these devices, they were very specialized. The scanner was not really used in for our daily activities, only for conferences, to scan slides for slide conferences. And so in my mind, I had this idea, oh, it's just for those who've been here long enough, who already like know how to use it, and it's for very specific cases. So in my mind, it was for the chosen, just for those who, do this or it's part of their project. And then, as part of my PhD, I guess it's part of everybody's PhD, you are supposed to teach students. So we would teach them the pathology class, and they would gather in a big um, lecture room. Everybody had their microscopes. They had the same organs on the slides. And we, as PhD students, would go and help them find the fixed structures in those slides. And at some point, one of those students said, that's okay. I can look at it at home. And I'm like, how at home? We're not supposed to give it to you. And what, do you have a microscope at home? And they told me, no, there is this portal where they have those slides scanned and they are all described and we can just basically study there. And I was like, what? I had no idea. I felt like so third world country at that point that I didn't have this access to this during my vet school. And that was just, a couple of years back. So I was maybe 3 years after vet school. And I'm like, oh my goodness, if I had this when I was studying, I would be so much further ahead. And now I'm like learning, struggling. And then, so I had these two beliefs. One, that it's only for the chosen. And second, oh my goodness, I'm so far behind because I didn't start using it yet. And then two things happened. The first one, I finished my PhD project and then I had a side project. And the side project was to quantify immunohistochemistry stain in the skin to quantify the aging. So I had some aging marker. I had to quantify it. And I looked at the stain and I'm like, there is no way I will be able to like visually distinguish anything in the slide. I have to count it. But I'm not going to count it with pen on the slide because then I'm just going to smear it all over the slide. Let me take a picture of this and just count it on the picture. And then I designed a grid on this picture. And that was my first step, like independent way of working in the digital pathology space with digital images. These were static images, and we're going to touch on it later. Um, Nevertheless, these were digital images of tissue and image analysis. Well, maybe image analysis is a little bit over exaggeration because I was still manually counting those cells, but I was counting them on the image. So let's say it was a type of image analysis. And then when I was starting preparing for my board, my American SVP, American College of Veterinary Pathology board certification, and even before that, when I started looking for resources to refresh my histology knowledge. And, I would just Google, and there was this fantastic series of histology lectures of human tissues, but most of the tissues are more or less the same, and the architecture and the cells are the same on YouTube. And this Dr. Minarsik, what his name, he was basically showing everything, all the structures on digital fly. And I could basically reach it from my computer. I didn't need any specific portal created by my university or specific logins or passwords. It was right there on YouTube. So basically, with these two things that happened to me, all those limiting beliefs that I had about digital pathology were debunked. It was not for the chosen anyone. It was a tool that anybody who needed this tool in one way or another could use. And second, the digital pathology education or education on digital pathology images was available with a click of a mouse. So I wanted to start you off with that because you might be thinking that it is far away from when you're going to start learning. No, if you're having a histology course, pathology course, you can already access these resources, especially everything that's available online. And so then later in my career, I actually became the veterinary pathologist. I passed my board, and don't be discouraged. It's a difficult exam. I had to attempt it twice. I only passed it with my second attempt, and that's okay. I'm still a board certified veterinary pathologist. And then I started my platform, my website, Digital Pathology Place, where you can access some of the resources about digital pathology for free on YouTube and everywhere. So it's accessible. But what is digital pathology? And now I will expect you to answer me in the chat. What do you think is digital pathology? Like if you would describe it in a super short sentence, what would you say? So it actually comes down to, at the moment, it's pretty fast developing discipline, but at the moment it comes down to two technologies. It's digital photography and light microscopy. These two technologies merged to give you digital pathology. And it can be done in a couple of ways. I see another answer, utilizing computers and algorithms to improve diagnosis. This is definitely part of digital pathology. But to create this opportunity even, we have those two technologies, digital photography and light microscopy. And you can do digital pathology or create digital images in a couple different ways. You can basically, and I bet if you had histology classes already or pathology with microscope, I bet you were taking your phones and trying to take pictures from under the microscope. You can be more fancy and, get yourself a little case so that you don't wobble your phone. But basically, this is already your first step to digital pathology. You can take a picture. When I was in school, it may sound like, oh my goodness, it was such a last century education. It wasn't. It was just fine. What I was thinking about it when I went to Germany were just my limiting belief. But basically, we would look under the microscope and draw the images of what we saw, which was also super cool strategy to remember how the tissues are structured. And I think it was the first, like the early years of digital pathology. So I think some of my friends had a digital camera, but there were no phones with digital cameras yet. Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember. It was 2009. I graduated in 2009. So, but basically, if you have access to a microscope, you have a phone that takes pictures. This is your first step to digital pathology. You can also have a microscope with a camera, or you can have a little scanner, or you can have a big scanner. So there are different ways, different like levels, different throughputs of digital pathology. And they create images in two different ways. There is static and dynamic imaging in pathology. And static is basically taking a snapshot, either with a microscope camera, with a phone, taking a static picture. What does it mean, a static picture? Static picture is going to be microscope, digital camera, and various shapes and forms. And there's software. You can stream from this camera. You can share from this camera. But what you cannot really do is create a microscope-like experience. And this is where the dynamic digital pathology comes into play. Dynamic means that it's zoomable. This is microscope-like experience. These are the whole slide images that you can zoom in and zoom out, set the magnification that you would set like if it was on the microscope. Whereas in the static version, you take a picture. I mean, you can digitally zoom in and zoom out, but you're not changing the magnification. You're just changing the size of the pixels on the screen. This is static. This is from the magnification it was taking on. Whereas dynamic, you have a digital microscope experience. But we are still talking inside of this scanner, even though this is a high throughput scanner that can scan 360 slides at a time, you still have microscope objectives and a digital camera inside. And it is taking pictures in a specific way. Let me tell you a couple of more things that are there. So this scanner takes care of the digitization of images. So basically taking pictures, digital pictures of analog glass slides. And inside what's happening, we acquire the image, we take a picture in a specific form so that it later is zoomable. We store it. It's being edited. How is it being edited? Well, it's not going to take a full picture of the slide at the highest magnification. It has to take several different pictures of the slide, and then they have to be stitched together. So this is editing. And then you have to somehow see it, usually on the computer. So this is what's happening inside the scanner. Whereas what are the components that are responsible for this action? There's a light source. There's a slide stage that is motorized. There are objective lenses, and there is a high resolution camera. And as you can see, this very much are the component of a light microscope. I mean, high resolution camera is optional on a microscope. I wouldn't want to have a microscope without the camera anymore. And this is still light microscopy. So when I look up what are the disadvantages of digital pathology, I often see this bullet point: lack of trained expert or lack of trained professionals that are trained to evaluate digital images. And I totally not believe in this, because the digital images on the computer are generated with light microscopy. This is what we study in vet school. This is what we study in the residency. This is the tool that we're using. It's just displayed in a different way. It's like saying that, oh, we cannot really, this is a disadvantage of digital pathology because looking on a picture on the screen, looking at the picture of a tree printed out and on a screen is difficult, and we need specific training to actually recognize the tree on the screen, which is like ridiculous, right? You are trained in recognizing this tree because you lived your life. And in pathology training, you are trained to recognize pathology images. It doesn't matter if they're going to display it to you on a huge screen at the conference, under the microscope, whether it's a picture in the book, the content is the same. The form it is shown is different. So somebody is going to tell you, well, you're not trained to work with digital images. Like, no, that's not true. Don't believe. I mean, there are other components of digital pathology that require specific training, but not the microscopic evaluation for a pathologist who's already trained on light microscopy. So in digital pathology for diagnostics, there are two main superpowers of this technology. High-level superpowers that classical pathology does not have. And the first superpower is you can diagnose these on digital images. And the second one, and we have seen both of these messages in the chat, is applying computer vision methods. Computer vision methods meaning computer algorithms, artificial intelligence to the digital images. So first of all, we are not bound to the microscope. We can basically have it shared worldwide, like you said, through a computer screen with the use of internet or whatever setups there are, for diagnostic purposes in institutions. You need to have it pretty secure, but you are not bound to this physical object of microscope and glass slides anymore. This still is a component that is being used to generate those slides, but we can do diagnose on digital images. And then once those images are digitized, we can use algorithms on them because they're digitized, right? No brainer. So why is it so beneficial to diagnose on digital images? Why is it even different? Like diagnosis is diagnosis. I just said that if you recognize a tree on a printed paper, it's the same as recognizing a tree on a computer screen, right? Well, yes, but you extend the application. So diagnosing disease on digital images increases access to pathology expertise. Basically by being able to share it worldwide, by not needing to have the pathologist on site where the slides are being made. How many can you gather there if you have a huge lab? Well, if you want to hire internationally, not everybody is going to go and relocate, right? So by being able to provide this opportunity on digital images, you increase the number of pathologists that can help you diagnose. And that elevates the quality of patient care because it increases the access to pathologists. It increases the access to pathology diagnosis. And something that should not be underestimated, and I think it is, or sometimes when you think, okay, patient is always on the first place and always patient first, but there is somebody who's diagnosing this patient and they have to be fit and they have to be well to be able to do their job well and to actually serve those patients. So the diagnosis on digital images gives the pathologist option to work remotely, which is how I work. I work for my day job for Charles River Laboratories as a toxicology pathologist remotely. I work from home on digital images. And there are several open positions at any time that hire remote pathologists. And this gives me flexibility. This gives me the location and time freedom. I'm from Poland and I still have family in Poland and I go there with my kids at least 3 times a year for extended periods of time and I'm able to work from them. And that gives me personally improved life quality, which is something I didn't think was that relevant when I was graduating vet school. I was super excited to start working as a vet. I had a different idea of what I'm going to be doing before I ended in the digital pathology space. But at some point, I did want to improve the quality of my life, right? At some point, the balance between, okay, I want to keep learning and pushing for becoming better is countered with, okay, how do I want to live my life with my family when I already had a family, with, friends and all the other aspects that make you stay sane. So I definitely can attest to the improved life quality when you are working as a digital pathologist. What about applying computer vision methods to digital slides? Basically, digitization of slides makes it possible to use AI and analyze those images with computer algorithms. And this is basically limited by the advancement of the image analysis or AI technology. So this when I started my digital pathology career in, I think it was 2016, we didn't have the AI that we have now. We had very much rule-based methods where you would say exactly, okay, the cells that I want to detect have this shade of brown, have this roundness, have this size, and you had to manually craft those features to detect the cells. Whereas now you give examples, now you can match the image with the diagnosis. Not only with the diagnosis, you can match the image with the whole report. Now, with the advancement of large language models and natural language processing. So let's say I've been active in this space for almost a decade. In this decade, I have witnessed an advancement, like tremendous advancement of technology. And what this taught me is like, okay, if something cannot be done at the moment, let's just wait 6 months and see if it can be done with the new methods that are being developed, like as we speak. So definitely being able to use computer vision and AI, different forms of the AI, can accelerate diagnostic discoveries. It can elevate the quality of patient care because then we can use more sophisticated tools to diagnose, more at scale tools to diagnose. We're not limited to one person diagnosing something. We can have an algorithm doing this at scale and maybe flagging the cases that a pathologist should review. This can significantly improve workflow. This can help prioritize cases. This can help you focus on where the pathologist's expertise is actually needed. And that allows for the use of cutting edge technologies in pathology. We're no longer limited to the analog person pathologist looking through the microscope at glass slides. We have access to all the pathology, all the imaging and AI tools that are available for other healthcare specialties. I would love to give you a gift. It is a book. It goes a little bit more in depth into the different aspects of digital pathology. So go ahead, feel free to take out your phones, scan this, and it's gonna ask you for your email. And once you give me the email, it's gonna send you the PDF, the free PDF of this book. My question to you: do you work with whole slide images in any form or shape? Have you already had access to digital slides? Give me a yes or a no in the chat. Okay. I have a question. The question is, being a new approach to pathology, what is the hardest part of what you're doing? So the hardest part of digital pathology to me is communicating with all the other players and stakeholders in this discipline, because it is called digital pathology. So it has pathology in the name, but is actually very multidisciplinary field. You have computer scientists involved, computer vision specialists, now AI specialists who are not necessarily computer vision specialists. So more and more experts are coming into play. IT, if you're thinking of deploying it into in an institution, if you are working in a regulatory environment, that would be in any state lab or in any national lab, you need to think of validation. So basically, many teams historically it was thought, oh, the pathologist can take care of it, but no. And working together well as a team in this environment is a little bit challenging because first, you are talking to people who have totally different expertise. Second, all those individuals from those groups are very highly specialized experts. And what I see, and what I also catch myself doing, the more I dive, the deeper I dive into one specific specialty is, okay, I often forget to take a step back and open my mind and learn and have this learner approach. So I have my preconceived, okay, for a pathologist, it should be like this and this and this. And why are you not working around it? And you have other experts from other domains who are thinking the same. Like from an IT perspective, this must go this and this and this way. Why are you not adapting? And then like from computer vision, the same story, right? So working together in a multidisciplinary team of people who have totally polar opposite expertise is the biggest challenge. Not, working with the software. It's not learning the image analysis software if that's what you're going to be doing. It's just like any software. Like anybody uses Photoshop. Photoshop is a freaking complicated software. I like gave up 3 times before I actually started using it. So it's not about the software. It's about working together in a multidisciplinary field. Question: being a native of Poland, was it easy to study in Germany? No, it wasn't. So basically, uh, it's more difficult to study abroad than in your own country in general. That's like what I have noticed. And I studied. I finished veterinary school in Poland, so I graduated from a Polish school and then went to Germany. But it wasn't that I just like showed up and yeah, I would like to do it internationally. I actually started a program in Poland. I was enrolled in a PhD program in Poland, and then found out a way to go for an externship, for a 3-month externship to a place in Europe. And I think it was like a postgraduate part of the Erasmus program, or I know in Europe there are several mobility programs for students. So this was one of those programs. And I applied and I went to Germany. And then after I thought, hey, I would actually want to stay here and do my research here and not really go back to Poland. I was like, okay, how do I do it? I applied for a scholarship. So I basically I got the scholarship. I had the whole department of pathology where I went in Germany involved in writing the proposal, but then I basically got my own money from the scholarship to study there. So no, I wouldn't say it's easy. I didn't, because I was a European citizen, I didn't have any problem with licensing, veterinary licensing, any problems with uh, diploma or my credential accreditation, because it was within European Union, which would be the case if I went to another continent or outside of European Union. And I didn't have any immigration implications, which would be the case if I went somewhere else. And that's like another level of complexity when trying to study, live, or do anything abroad. Another question: how do you see digital pathology being used in academic research, specifically in immunology? It is perfect for immunology. So let me give you an example from my life, and then this can be extrapolated into academic research. So when I started my digital pathology career, I started at an image analysis company. And what we were mainly doing, we didn't have the lab. We were just working with those digital images. But our clients, some of them being academic centers, they were sending us slides of different immune oncology markers that they wanted us to quantify with computer algorithms. So uh, basically, everything that you can visualize for immunology in a tissue slide can be scanned and then can be analyzed with computer vision and AI method. And it's not really limited to just tissue slides. You can do that for ELISA plate. You can do that for anything that you can image, have an immunohistochemistry marker in it that's visually different, and you can quantify it. I don't know if this is answering this question, but basically digital pathology is a super powerful tool for research because you can take information from images and work with powerful computer vision methods on them. You can couple them with AI, with other research that then corresponds to those images. You wouldn't be able to do that if it was still on glass under the microscope. Is it useful for histopathology scoring or IHC scoring? so useful. Oh my goodness, guys! If somebody would ask me now, oh, please, can you do this scoring or do this, especially for IHC? Like, can you quantify how many percent positivity is of this particular marker in the slide? I would like say no if I could. I am, as a human being, visually assessing something. I'm basically guesstimating the percentages. Or I can like say, okay, 1 plus, 2 plus, 3 plus, up to whatever plus we want. But it's basically like my visual estimation. Why do it in the first place if you can scan the slide and have a computer actually count those pixels that are of a certain color, pixels of a certain change in the tissue that can exactly be quantified, and then you can even have a continuous scale of change. You don't have to limit yourself to certain categories. So very useful for histopathology scoring. Depending a little bit on how complex it is, it requires algorithm development time, and some of those algorithms can be complex. So if they get too complex, then you refer back to pathologist scoring visually. But there are several IHD quantification algorithms that are already available, especially in human pathology for diagnostic purposes. Are there any challenges of working remotely and not being in the lab? It depends what your role in the lab is. If you are a diagnostician, you don't really need to go to the lab. You need to look at the images and provide a report and a diagnosis. So I personally don't see any disadvantages there if you can develop a communication method and good rapport with the lab personnel that is providing the slides to you. If you need to give feedback, me personally, I don't go to the lab. I have not been in the lab for the last 3 years. I get my slides from the lab and I communicate via email or via Teams or just call the people in the lab. So from that standpoint, not really. If you are in a phase of your life when you are doing some kind of research, then you probably need to be in the lab. Research like wet lab, bench research, right? If you're actually staining those slides and doing these kind of things, then it's your responsibility to be there. And I have heard of PhD students who like did their PhD entirely from home during COVID and had like fantastic results that could be published in a high impact factor journal. Depends on the experiment. If you're actually working on in silico stuff, only on those images and trying to get insights from those images and maybe from the reports, doing some correlations, then it comes down to, okay, how can you develop good communication with the rest of your research team? Another question is, how long did it take to become a pathologist? Did you do specific training course for digital pathology, or can any registered pathologist also apply for a digital pathologist position? It took me some time to become a pathologist. So first I had to become a veterinarian. Then I needed to do my residency. And after that, I needed to pass my boards. So let's say in total, 6 years of vet school, 4 years of PhD / residency, 10 years, right? Vet school, you're already almost done with it or being done with it. But this was kind of classical way of becoming a pathologist. And there are other ways in different countries. So for example, in Poland, I would not be able to do a structured residency because we don't have any. And I know that in many countries there aren't any, but there are pathologists that are working in state labs, in universities. They're actually doing pathology, but they did not go through a structured program. And if at any point of time they would like to be board certified, then they would probably need to fill some requirements, but it doesn't mean that they're not pathologists, right? But let's say one way or another, vet school plus 4 years. Did I do any specific training or course for digital pathology? And no, I learned on the job. I was, when I started my digital pathology adventure, that was that project where I actually was taking static images from the microscope and evaluating things. And then I applied for a digital pathology position. This position, in this position, I was supposed to work with image analysis scientists and help them develop better algorithms so that what they were actually quantifying was matching the tissue. And me, with my pathology expertise, I was already qualified for this job. Um, but so there are two types of digital pathology positions. Just a normal pathologist position that is being done digitally, like, remote work, or you are doing pathology work on digital images. I don't think there's any specific training required for that. There is another type of job where you actually help an institution go digital or help develop algorithms. You need to learn a little bit more about the other aspect of digital pathology that I was mentioning, the computer vision aspect, the AI aspect, the maybe IT aspect, regulatory aspect, whatever, right? Um, I think for MD pathologists, there's like some structured fellowship, but I don't think for a veterinary pathologist currently, you just look at the job description and see, can I do the things that they're asking me to do? And many of them you can do just by being a veterinary pathologist. And others you can learn from the book, or from some online lectures that you can find on my YouTube channel or wherever. Basically, some will require some background knowledge, and now there are available resources, so that if you take advantage of those resources and in the interview you show that you actually know what you're talking about, you know the principles, then that's totally enough to apply for a digital pathology position. Are there any challenges of working remotely and not being in the lab? So one challenge or disadvantage that is another like a poster child disadvantage of digital pathology or working remotely is, oh, where are your colleagues? You cannot take the slide to them and ask for opinion, which is totally not true, because you can just reach your colleagues differently. You can reach them digitally. You can send a screenshot of a part of an image that you want to consult. It's just so much more accessible. You can send a WhatsApp to your friend who you know is good in pathology or like has a certain specialty in neuropathology or whichever specialty, subspecialty of pathology. With digital pathology, it's just so much easier to access this expertise that you might need at the beginning of your career. And I still consult my colleague. Um, which you will not have with remote work. And well, sometimes you work on as a digital pathologist in the office, so then you will get the benefit of like going for a coffee with your colleague. If you are working remotely, you will not get that benefit. But that's a choice that is separate of the technology that you're doing for your job. It's a choice. Okay, do I want to work remotely or not? Because by working remotely, I will not be going to the office every day. I will not be interacting with my friends from work every day. Do I need that to feel okay, or do I not need that? What is a priority in my life? In my life right now, my priority is my family and the flexibility and the ability to be able to go to Poland whenever I want, so that my kids can experience Poland in a non-touristy way. And digital pathology gives me this opportunity and gives me the option to prioritize that. Maybe later I will want to, interact with people more, go and do live presentations instead of webinars. Then it's going to be a question, okay, do I not want to work remotely anymore? Do I want to go into an environment where I can daily interact with my colleagues? So I didn't talk too much about AI in pathology. That would be a topic for another separate webinar. So if you would be interested in this topic, in how AI works for pathology, what AI method, how AI is applied to slides, to reports, and you would like that webinar, let me know. We can organize that as well. It's a separate topic, so I didn't really touch on it because we would be here like whole day, or at least another hour to cover that topic. We can do it. We can do focus on AI. I wanted this webinar to be like an intro. Okay, what is this technology? Why is it beneficial for patients, for pathologists? How do you enter this career? More like a high level overview. But we can dive in any of the topics or any of the parts, slide digitization, AI, image analysis, any of these. Reach out and we can figure out um, when to meet. And if people are interested, then I'm more than happy to talk about it again. And in the meantime, there are YouTube videos on my channel that cover some of those topics. I want to recommend you something specific. When you go to playlists, and if you want like a comprehensive course, basically, it's a course that I did with a university in Holland. This very playlist, Bridging the Gap. I think 13 lecture series. One of those videos is maybe me like wrapping up and welcoming everybody. But it was an event that I hosted with scientists from Radboud University Medical Center in Nijmegen in the Netherlands. They are a leader in digital pathology, and they are basically explaining beginnings of computational pathology. How are slides made? Everything that you want to know about digital pathology taught by experts. I'm more like the host there, and I invited scientists that are dealing with specific topics of digital pathology for a living. You can listen to that on YouTube. They will be super happy that you guys are learning this from them. This was a full day event. I think it was like 7 hours of lectures. And they did it all for free just to promote digital pathology.